The Board of Selectmen, Wednesday, December 4th, to order, 2019. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. And this is a very, very special night in honor of George Hebert and family. Maybe, George, you can start by you introducing your family to us.
Very pleased to. My significant other, Virginia Summers, my son-in-law, Kenny Wilcox, my daughter, Melissa, and I'm sure Karen's here somewhere.
Karen cannot make
I know. And I have a daughter, Karen, also with a significant other up in Maine.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Very good. Glad to meet you, all of you. What I'd like to say, George, everywhere in West Bridgewater, you've touched the lives of the children in those days at the park. We go all the way back to the Estabrooks restaurant where we had the good strawberry sundaes, and a lot of the selectmen after the meetings, we used to go over to the restaurant, and so you certainly been around. You, to me, are an icon of West Bridgewater. I mean, you, and among the youth and everybody, and especially at the park where you performed, and you always had a big crowd around you, and you spread joy to all the children and the adults and the many, many functions. And I have a proclamation for you, which I will read. I know Jerry has something he wants to say too, as those pictures are rolling along. A proclamation of the Board of Selectmen, West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Whereas George Hebert started bringing joy by magical clown to the life at the age of 17, performing strolling and pocket magic. Whereas George's performances have been seen at schools, community events, parades, churches, campgrounds across America, including performing at the very first West Bridgewater Park Day, making an encore appearances over 28 years. Whereas George has volunteered making countless appearances of charitable events and visiting children in hospitals, and has won many awards and recognition as George, including the prestige World's Best Clown Award. And whereas George is a longtime resident of West Bridgewater, now retiring after bringing joy to the world for almost 60 years, therefore, be it resolved, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of West Bridgewater, do hereby proclaim December 4th, 2019 as Joy the Magical Clown Day, in recognition of George Hebert and his many years of service as Joy and the Magical Clown. We extend to him our deepest appreciation for all the dedicated work and wish him well in all his future endeavors. In witness, therefore, with the great under seal of the hands caused by the great seal of the town of West Bridgewater be affixed this 4th day of December 2009. The Board of Selectmen, Ellen Marrera, Chairman, Denise Reyes, Vice Chairman, and Anthony Kennahan, Clerk. George, would you step forward and I'd like to present this to you? Congratulate you. You certainly are the icon of the town. You've done a lot for this community.
Thank you very, very much.
Extending joy and among all of us, young and old.
Thank you very much. It's
Okay, is anybody else
Thank you.
would like to have a few words? Jerry Lawrence is with us, and of course, Jerry, I see a lot of him over the years.
who is it?
State representative is on the way. She's running a little bit late. But George, on behalf of, well, I'd like to say on behalf of everybody in the town, but specifically the Park Day Committee and now the Lions Club that run Park Day, it gives me great pleasure to announce the 29th annual West Bridgewater Park Day celebration is going to be celebrated on Sunday, September the 13th, 2020, and is hereby dedicated to George Hebert for bringing joy to the world for nearly 60 years. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Guess you'll have to show up, huh?
He will have to be there. George, we have a little biography that I put together with the help of your two daughters and a little history, a little research. and all that. That'll also be published in the Park Day program. I learned that you retired, Joy, just before Park Day.
Yeah.
Joy was, I mean, everybody grew up in West Bridgewater seeing Joy. My very first time, I think I was 4 or 5 years old at the Brockton Summerfest. And you've been a huge part of this community. If it was you bringing soup to Election Day or being the town crier, the countless interactions you've had. I remember even before food pantries existed, you ran a program for people in town. So really, we're here to recognize the retirement of Joy, but celebrate everything you've done for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that my wife would be on it at this point. And I tell you that today I was telling Ginny earlier today had to be a day of remembrance for some reason. I had stopped in Warren Avenue to have coffee, and this man came in with 2 kids, and one was 12 and one was 6, and he says, sit down at the counter. And he looked down and he says, Joy! I said, yeah. He says, hey kids, when your mother was your age, I had him over the house to do magic shows. And I said, that's how I knew when I was getting old. I was doing a magic show one day, and the lady came up and said, your show is just as good as it's ever been. And I said, oh, you've seen it before. She says, yeah, today's my grandson's 6th birthday. And you did my birthday when I was 6 years old. But nature has caused me to have to stop. I have very bad carpal tunnel and very bad arthritis in my hands. And as you know, there was a kid in West Bridgewater that I haven't pulled a quarter out from behind their ear at one time or another. And I can't even do that anymore. I can't twist her up like I used to and so forth.
You know, it's interesting, Joe. I was watching, I'm not a big TV around, but you know, some of these people come on there and I was watching, and so this lady was in there as a doctor, and she was pressing the vein of thing, and then she says, where people have, you know, carpal tunnel and all the
Right.
thing, and it would suggest that once in a while, bend your hands back.
If I did that, I'd be on the floor.
Yeah, and then they went back to the spot where she jumped, was when she hit that vein, whatever it was, and whatever relieved the pressure on the thing. So I just want to say that. That's what
If your doctor ever says he wants you to have an EMG done,
Yeah,
say, thank you very much, I'll talk to you later, and leave.
okay.
It's an electrical charge they send up through your fingers, through your arm, and through your body, actually, to find out where your nerves, how your nerves are affected. And believe me, if you have very bad carpal tunnel or very bad nerve endings, like I have neuropathy in my hands also, you think you're getting electrocuted. It's really a hard test. And I had it done not too long ago, and she said that she was basically one of the reasons I gave up clowning. But I can't, you know, I will put on makeup, and I will be.
I'm quite sure your retirement was magic, but I'm quite sure that Jerry will find a place over at Pack Day.
Well, you know, when one door closes, another door opens.
That's correct.
And thanks to God, I found a calling. I lost a very good friend, Bob Card, to cancer. And just before he passed, I brought him his final payments for his buses and so forth, and he said, what are you gonna do? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, you gotta do something. And I said, yeah, I do. I walked out, got in my car, and somebody called me on the phone and said, hey, I need a ride. And I said, that sounds like a great name for a business. So I started I Need a Ride. And that was 3 years ago. And Brockton Hospital asked me if I would be interested in writing a grant with them to transport chemo and radiation patients when they saw how I was handling the ones that I was bringing in. And the grant was originally for 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
I now do between 40 and 60 hours a week with the Brockton Hospital transporting chemo and radiation patients. And it's a great, great relationship, and it's a great heartwarming job. I had a lady a year and a half ago get in the car and she was crying her eyes out. And I said, what's the matter? they just told me I got stage 4 cancer and I'm gonna die. And I said, oh man, and she cried all the way home. I took the same lady yesterday in the car and she was crying like crazy. And I said, they found more? She said, no, they told me I'm 100% clean. I said, thank you, Jesus. Because she was so happy that they finally had cleaned up all the cancer in her system. And she just cried all the way home. And I said, now it's time to be happy. I said, now it's time to be happy. But I found this new job and I love what I do. And thanks to the town, I can run a business here out of my house, and it's really great. Thank you very much for this. It's a sincere honor and a great honor, actually. You know, I know that in the past you've honored people like Mr. Vic Flaherty.
Right.
And to think that I could be even in the same category as such a great man, you know, is an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is it you say at the end of every show?
If I brought this much happiness
Yeah.
into your lives and into your hearts, then it means this much happiness into my heart and into my life forever. Remember always, you don't have to wait until somebody sneezes to say God bless you. God bless you all.
5-minute recess, and if you want to come up, you want to take a picture with us?
No.
You knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah. If you didn't say something sassy. He was a good speaker. Disappointed.
Jerry, would you like to get on the picture with us?
No.
Does Jerry have?
Jerry, you want to come up too?
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Watch my fucking mouth this way.
We invite everyone.
Good to see you.
Oh my God.
We went by your house twice. Oh my gosh.
No, get in.
I get worked up when I do this stuff. And it's like,
1, 2.
Camera all set down there? Okay, the next thing on, a vote on the annual liquor license renewals. Is there a motion to that effect?
Motion to approve the listed renewals.
Is there a second?
Second?
And I would just ask to do it subject to all final inspections and documentation to be received.
Subject
Okay.
to all final inspections and documentation.
Okay, all right, we got a second?
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, B, ABC, seasonal population increase estimation.
So the town clerk provides this to us every single year. This is in reference to the fact that we have a quota system for alcohol in the state of Massachusetts. And so the population this past year, based on our count, is 7525. All you're doing is just signing it and sending it off to the ABCC.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
So voted. All right, vote on vacation carryover requests. John Anderson and Karen Lavin.
Motion to approve the request.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? All right, so voted. Approve the minutes of November 6, 2019.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All right, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so voted. Accept to review minutes of November 20th.
Motion to accept the minutes of November 20th for review?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Site plan review, special permit zoning board of appeal, proposed addition of Patriot Paving Services storage yard, existing structure located at 271 East Center Street. This is directly across from the golf course.
It is.
Yeah. I don't know who owns it now, but it was Agar Construction there, and out of Brockton, and they would like, I guess, where they gonna propose addition of paving services there, storage yard, existing structure. Okay. Board have any problems with that, or?
I have no concerns.
They require a vote on that, or? Okay, all right. A vote on Colin Bell's resignation from the Cultural Council.
Motion to accept the resignation and send a letter of thanks.
Okay, was there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
For communication boards, commissions, and town officials. As you know, we had a letter, just getting out there congratulating the football team, but I see now that they are now in the state tourney. I guess they play Friday at Patriot Stadium. So it's just all aware, and I hope they got a great team, undefeated so far. I hope they go all the way. Okay. Any other buddy would wish to talk out there?
I don't think so, Alden.
I don't think there's
They're all
nobody buying those
quiet.
seats. Anything from the board? I see that we had a snowstorm out there, and the highway was very, very busy, and I talked to Chris today, and about the things, and you know, anybody that communicated to me, I told him what they had said, and he said that things worked out pretty good overall, you know. And of course, it was one of those storms that just kept coming at us there. They put in the paper today, it was 8 inches. It was more like 12 or 14 inches, you know. I didn't think, that's the biggest 8 inches I ever seen. Board members, do you have anything to say? Nothing? Correspondent, public comment period, okay. Now, I guess, David, I got to you, town administrator, who's tirelessly working almost around the clock here and getting things done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of things into my report. One is in reference to a police citizen survey. I want to provide the information to the board, but the police chief did a nice job. What he did was he contracted with an independent surveying company, Zoho, placed a survey out on Facebook and on the town's website. They received 212 responses over a period of a month. And you could see the data that he collected. But in the end, the real nice thing is 91%, or basically 9 out of every 10 people, think that our town is doing a pretty good job from a policing standpoint, with giving a rating of 8, 9, or 10 as to how they evaluate our police department. I also thought that the most interesting comment out of all of it is that a majority of the people, 60-something%, their interaction with our police department was not through a routine stop or some type of citation, but was actually through community events. And again, I think our police department does a really good job being involved in the town in kind of non-police activity.
Yeah, reaching
But
out.
when they're out there and when they say protect and serve, that's what they're really doing, is they're out there servicing our community. So again, I just wanted to say credit to the police chief and his entire department, and make sure the board was aware of the survey that came out.
Thank you very much. That's a great news.
The next two items have to do with my annual goals. Excuse me. Employee handbook. We've never had one in this town. We have 252 employees and a $30 million plus budget. And I could not think of a private organization that would probably not have an employee handbook. So we have been working on this with Linda, my assistant, for the last handful of months. And so at this point, what we have done is we have drafted an employee handbook. And the idea is that when new employees come in and they sign all the documentation, is that they would also receive this. And so it goes over our personnel bylaw. It lets you know that if you're a union employee, to refer to your individual collective bargaining agreement if you have any questions about your benefits or your pay package. It then goes into all of the policies that have always been approved by the Board of Selectmen in the past, so they're all in one nice, neat, immediate format. And then the last item is in reference to an organizational chart. And so if we could go to the end, Lorna, please. It should be. Thank you. So most employee handbooks in towns do not have this. We've incorporated it. I'm going to ask you all just to take it as a draft right now to review it, and then I can talk to everybody individually. We'll come back and hopefully, if you're in favor of having an employee handbook, approve it. But this here is a town organizational chart, and basically what this shows is all of the different boards in town that are directly elected from the voters. And I think this is important for two reasons. One is that a lot of times when employees, and also residents, but when employees come on board and they have an issue with, say, the water department, and they want to come to the Board of Selectmen or myself and say, can you get involved? The water commissioners are separately elected. And I think that we need to make sure that we recognize the fact that these boards and committees are directly elected, and then therefore one board doesn't answer to the other. The second to that is that we are decentralized. And so I want to make sure that as an employee, if you're an employee of the planning board, if you have a concern, you would go to the planning board first. If you're an employee of the school committee, you would go to the school committee or their respective supervisors within the school department. So again, I think that this is important because a lot of times when employees come in from outside, especially from the private sector, they assume it's a traditional hierarchical chart, and that doesn't exist in towns. So I want to make sure we spell this out. And then the next item is that this is an example of what I would like to do for each respective elected board, is that we would showcase, for example, the Board of Selectmen, who they appoint in the departments they individually oversee, in the amount of committees that you also appoint. And if you like the concept of having an organizational chart in the way that it works, then we would duplicate this for all of the other elected boards as well. If you don't like it or you don't think that it fits into an employee handbook, that's fine. We would then take it out. So that's why I'll ask you all to review it, and then we'll get back together at a later date, and you can give me advice as to how it is that you'd like to proceed.
Right.
All right. Next one is Selectmen's role in personnel employment contract. This was a goal task to me from Selectman Ray's, and the concern is that because again, we are decentralized, is that a lot of times contracts are signed by other boards and there is no other type of vetting process. So in the spirit of what her request is that I have added a handful of items to our personnel bylaw that would allow the Board of Selectmen to have final oversight authority and involvement in employment contracts. It wouldn't be for collective bargaining agreements, because that's pretty clear, and you guys signed 5 out of the 6 of them anyway, is that this would have to do with individual employment contracts from one of the other boards, that there would be a process in which the selectmen would have the opportunity to review the contract before it is signed, be able to make any type of notes or suggestions or recommendations back to that administrative authority. And then once the administrative authority and that individual then negotiated a contract, they would bring it back to you for final authorization and sign off. So I created it again because this is Selectman Ray's goal. What I would ask is that she's seeing it for the first time tonight, is that her and I would work on it and fine tune some of the details, because I hopefully captured what she was looking for, but obviously I may not have. And then if, once she is comfortable and happy with that, my recommendation is, because it ultimately has to go to the bylaw study committee, I would think that we would send it to town council first, have him review it, and then the bylaw study committee would review it, and then it would come back to you to present to town meeting if that was the decision of the board.
Now, we've got to find out what we can do legal. They're elected officials, and I certainly would like to have the thing fully explored before we did anything there. I mean, but like I was saying, you're going to be working on it, and we'll take a look at it then. But I think we need some legal advice from our town council, and what we can do, what we can't do with that. Because they are elected officials, and I don't want to be put in a spot where Micah managing their, their offices, you know? But I certainly would like to see paraded through and see what we come up with.
The intent, Eldon, is to, like Dave mentioned, review this. I looked at it
Yeah,
quickly.
right.
There were a few tweaks to it, but the goal is to hopefully get something in place so that we're not spending
Because somebody can
tens
control.
of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits over contracts, or even, I mean, hours and hours and hours in meetings trying to figure out, the employee says he's entitled to this, the board is saying, well, we're not sure, and it just ties up a lot of valuable time. Get some sort of clarity in place,
Okay.
an agreement as to the pay, the benefits, the hours of work, something that's more unified versus having 20 different contracts out there.
Okay.
I mean, there'll always be some tweaking involved,
Mhm.
but it shouldn't be a matter of each board having to start from scratch with a pen and paper and designing a contract based on the individual. We should have some starting
So in
point.
order to enact something like this, it's got to go before the town meeting, right? Change of bylaw?
I believe that would be the intent, yes.
Anthony, you have any comments on that?
Not really, I'm fine with the process that David laid out.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay,
Okay, good. And then I'll work with Selectman Race in case, because I may have not captured exactly what you're looking for, so I'll work with you on it.
Sure.
And the last is just an FYI to the board about the Spanish Honor Society. They'll be canning at the transfer station. They requested December 7th, this Saturday. They're gonna do it the following Saturday as their rain date. And again, per your policy, I signed off on it in notifying the board.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else for the board? I know there was quite a few things to sign here, so
I'm still signing.
you through that too, Anthony?
Yeah.
Sign the licenses and everything else? Okay, yeah, if there's nothing else,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye, thank you very much.